All right, we'll officially call it to order if it wasn't already. Looks like everyone is here, including Bridget Cabot, Kelly Chalfant, and Kate Sandretto. Any citizens' concerns? Doesn't look like there are any. Any objection to the meeting minutes from 9/27/2022?
Nope. No.
All right, we'll consider those approved with no objections. Number 5, update on deputy administrator position. I'm sure we're still in the holding pattern, and what I'm going to say, I think.
I have an update. I am working with Jason Daniels to verify if he is available to be in attendance at the November 1st City Council meeting for an executive session. And
is it the 1st or the 8th?
It's the 1st.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
Because I know the one. I think the email said 8th, but
Councilman Smith mentioned the 8th, but
it's actually the 1st. Okay.
That's actually the Finance Committee meeting night. So I'm just waiting for him to verify that, and then that would satisfy the meeting that you, Councilman Coleman, Councilman Smith, myself, and the mayor are going to have. Councilman Smith thought it could all be knocked out in one executive session presentation.
Yeah, I think having all of council there is it's cutting out one of the telephone games.
So I feel like we're a week closer.
Yes, and I think that's.
Are you going to do that early, Bridget, like at 5:30 or?
I think Council President Smith was just thinking during the City Council meeting that he would have an executive session.
I think it was going to be at the end of the agenda.
To discuss personnel matters.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Jonathan then. And I think it needs a sufficient time.
Well, I think, so when I talked to him, it was, I agree with you, I'm fine with the beginning as well. His impression was just doing it at the end, so there wasn't, it's us keeping ourselves there, basically, after all the agenda items on the council meeting, if it goes longer, so.
Okay.
Either way.
There are some public hearings scheduled for before City Council this next Tuesday that I'm aware of, just in your conversation.
Okay.
I think they're like the short 5-minute kind.
Okay.
And that's the day after Halloween, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I will encourage all city council members to come dressed up for that meeting.
I am.
I was dressed as you.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next one. Employee recognition, appreciation programs and meals. I'll go ahead.
I'll start it off, and we may have chiming in from Amber out there, our finance director, and or Kate or Kelly. Several weeks ago, this probably started with conversations with Amber regarding sections of the Ohio Revised Code and or Attorney General opinions, case law, about the notion that City Council would need to pass a resolution designating what city funds could be used for as a public purpose. Oh my gosh, I'm starting off good. Wait till safety committee. To designate what those funds could be used for in terms of any employee recognition, appreciation programs, and/or purchasing, say for instance, meals during a winter snowstorm for the folks over at Public Service who are plowing on 12-hour shifts for 3 days a week, and/or meals purchased during collective bargaining sessions. So we had some internal discussions about that. And many of you here have attended the annual, what is usually an annual, kind of like a holiday appreciation luncheon that we host. And we can't find any documentation that past councils passed any sort of resolution declaring those types of purposes a public purpose of public funds. So we asked Kate to craft up some legislation, and we kind of outlined those things that we know we are currently doing to make sure that any legislation that the City Council is willing to pass, you have before you kind of what our past practice has been. The largest item on that list would be the annual employee service awards, and I asked Kelly to put together some numbers on what in the past that has cost the city, in case there is an interest. But other than that one particular event, there are these random occasions like fireworks and the police officers and the shifts that work for that particular event. We're thinking about maybe in the future, there's those designated public employee recognition days throughout the course of the year. including that, not that we're doing it today, but perhaps in the future, but we were trying to be as all-encompassing as we could. But of course, we leave this in city council's capable hands.
I mean, and I don't know that I have the numbers in front of me, but Kelly, how much does that annual party usually?
I pulled the numbers for what we have tentatively thought out for this year. We've spent, we've already purchased $511 in service pins. And then the quote for food to be catered from SWIG is $1,495. And then in the past, we've gotten $50 gift cards to, say, Kroger's for full-time employees that are celebrating a milestone year, 5, 10, 15, 20. You know, and $25 for part-time employees. And we have, if we're permitted to go forward with that, we have $1,450 in gift cards lined up for this year.
All right, so roughly 3,500.
Yep.
And that's pretty typical.
Yes.
And then in addition, where this resolution, or I guess it's a, resolution would be providing for just meals when we're requiring people to kind of take part in a city-type lunch.
City-type lunch, or, for instance, when we have collective bargaining sessions, especially if we're in arbitration or we have a mediator in, we're typically there the entire day, and we're working through lunch, both the union and management. And so we'll have, somebody order sandwiches, and we come in and we put it on a city credit card.
Okay.
So those are the types of small incidentals. You may recall when we had that, the ongoing snow events a few years ago, like in January, February, we had plow truck drivers who were out, as I said, on 12-hour shifts.
Yep.
And we delivered in, 10 pizzas for a shift.
Okay.
And they would, drive in, grab some pizzas, get back in their truck and keep on going. Just as recognition and appreciation for their, taking time out of their personal life to come in and get the city streets clean. So there's those type of incidental events, but the main one would be that service award program that's held annually.
Okay, and then the reason we're not including a threshold, I'm guessing, for the amount is we're just going to rely on that 25 grand threshold, and that it's also going to be reported to finance.
And or if city council wants to put thresholds on any of these particular items, we're happy with that. As I said, we just don't know if anything has been passed in the past. The only council member here who may recall something is Councilman McCarthy, but we don't have anything in the files that Amber can find that Ohio Attorney General opinion and or Ohio State Auditor and or case law would suggest that we need on file.
So this is not a change from what we've done in the past. It's just
Correct.
we didn't have the appropriate legislative.
That we can find,
Yeah.
correct.
So yeah, we're basically enumerating something we're already in practice of doing. And these do go in front of Finance Committee for the expenditures monthly, right?
Any expenditures over 5,000, where a check is issued for over 5,000, yes, those do go to finance for their approval after the fact, but purchases are not at that this dollar limit. It doesn't come to city council prior to that actually happening.
Right, and I'm not worried about that. I just want
And we
the
could certainly, I mentioned this, I think when we were chatting, if it's something that this committee and council wishes, anytime an event like this occurs, we can report it out to whatever the appropriate committee.
I'm more worried about, and it's not getting the approval beforehand. I still want the oversight after the fact. So this is a type of expenditure that is what I consider kind of an extra, which I think is good for morale. It's a good practice. I would like it reported, no matter how small it is, to Finance Committee when it's being spent like this. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be.
I mean, Kate could certainly add it to a whereas.
We're gonna put it in there
That it should appear on the next month's Finance Committee report.
Sure.
Under extra expenditures or something like that, just so we have that check there. So if we at some point have a mayor in here that's spending, $4,995 and, for some caviar, we can.
So something like this already isn't in expense reports or like credit cards reports?
It would be in a credit card report on whoever's credit card that expenditure went on.
But not of the check was written or something?
No, because, and I have to defer to Amber, I think what the past practice has been on the finance committee, and Councilman McCarthy could probably speak to this as well, is that the report that is sent out with the Finance Committee packet are expenditures that are above $5,000. So typically, like in this particular instance that Kelly laid out, that's 3 separate expenditures to 3 different entities. So it would not collectively be on one check issued for $5,000
Yeah.
or more.
And it only hit 3,500, so even if it had been one entity.
It wouldn't be on that.
And that's kind of how I want it to be grouped, so the event as a whole rather than individual vendors.
So it could just be an additional report or
Yeah.
line on the report that Amber creates.
Yeah, so in that whereas, whereas it shall be reported to the finance committee, the event total or the whatever, however phrasing, I'll trust you on that. I just want some sort of oversight because this is the type of thing where people could rightfully get mad if it's getting out of hand. So with that added, I'll go ahead and,
Yeah, that's fine.
And you-
Bridget, do we need to say non-alcoholic beverages?
No, because the law allows council to determine what is a public purpose, but it cannot determine things that are arbitrary and capricious as being public purposes. And alcoholic beverages have already been determined that way, so we would never be allowed to do that. It would be a violation of law as it stands. Alcohol is one of
Amber
the
would come and hunt us down.
alcohol is one of the few things that is actually very clearly defined as you can't do this.
It's not a public
It's
purpose.
a no-no.
that's not surprising.
Is there any other, like, in excess of that, or is there anything upcoming that you may utilize as, say, maybe more than, like Kelly, what you mentioned, that we've done so far this year? Is there anything like projected that we might?
Nothing
Add to
at
it.
this level.
In this calendar year?
Yeah.
No, I mean, even looking towards like 23 or anything in the near future.
Probably, I mean, in 23, at some point, we'll start some collective bargaining negotiations, so this could come up at that point in time.
Okay.
We do know, I think, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Police Memorial Week and Employee Recognition Week, are those both in May?
Yes.
Those are both in May. Obviously, the annual fireworks event, we know when that takes place.
Yeah, I guess what just kind of buzzed around my head is, I totally agree with like, the employee morale factor here. And I just want to make sure that, we're utilizing that. We're not cutting anything out maybe for next year that could, add to.
We brainstormed for about an hour the other day, trying to come up with all the scenarios that we recall from the recent past and the distant past to try to be, as I said, kind of all-encompassing on what we remember having had happen.
Okay.
It doesn't mean, and we use the words "for example" in here, so that where there is something new that does come up, we have the ability to act on that, but we also know that we're reporting out to the Finance Committee as well.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of my fear, was that would we be making it too narrow? Sounds like.
We tried to be pretty broad.
For example. Okay.
It depends on how much it snows this winter, is really the answer to that question.
Right.
Yeah, and I like how broad it is, and that's why I want the reporting requirement. I don't want this necessarily to pay for a training in Cancun or something, but if that happens, we at least get to ream you out after the fact. So,
You're in his schedule.
I don't think it'd ever get that far.
I hope not.
That falls under a travel policy, and Amber will let us do that.
Good. Well, I see training in that language, so it's one of those, it's one of those things. So, if there's no objection, I'll consider that recommended 3-0.
No objection.
To move on. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the 2023 budget.
Big HR budget. I have a copy before you of what there is of the budget for the Office of Human Resources. It does not include personnel or fringes, but you can see the bottom line there is $38,725. Not much in the grand scheme of things.
And I want to remind City Council, this is a new format for us. Amber's Deputy Director, Kayla, actually did all the computations for payroll for all departments and divisions. So she has some sort of massive master spreadsheet, but I'll pass this out. This was in an email, I think, that Amber sent out with the budget document, but this is just kind of a reminder of the basis of the personnel payroll calculations that she utilized. The first part is she wanted to make known to City Council that there are positions that are either budgeted for that are currently vacant, such as we discussed already, the Deputy Administrator position, There's a new request that'll be in the finance department's budget of a staff accountant. We currently have posted out there, advertised, the urban forester for the service division. It's budgeted in this year's budget, but it's a vacant position at this moment in time. The court in 2023 is asking for an additional bailiff. And those of you who will be here for the safety committee meeting, as the next meeting here, Chief Jones will discuss taking through the current patrol officers and promoting them to sergeants, but not backfilling the patrol officers' positions. So that's just a little history she wanted you to have. And then looking at the budgeted increases that she utilized for non-bargaining for court and for unions, those are laid out for you, non-union 2% as a placeholder. I believe that the judge may have given direction to finance regarding a placeholder for court employees at 4%. And then our collective bargaining agreements for AFSCME, police and fire, all 5 of them, currently for 2023 are already negotiated at 2.5%. And then she goes in a little bit of detail on longevity for those that are eligible, how overtime was budgeted, and that she got the estimated overtime hours from each department. And then below you'll see the fringes that roll up for all the payroll taxes. And Amber's here to be able to answer any of those particular questions.
Kelly, do you have, you know what the budget was for the HR office last year compared to what you're proposing here?
I actually,
I know we changed, because you used to have all personnel on your HR, right?
Right.
And now we don't.
So I don't have that broken down that way. I know.
so for instance, in 2022, this year's budget, the total budget for HR is $419,699. As proposed for 2023, it is $415,200. But that number does not include 2 items. While we were going through our budget reductions to create a balanced budget, there's 2 items that are temporarily taken out of the HR budget. And those 2 are the NeoGov Learn module that goes with our hiring
That's the
software.
all the it's
all the online
modules.
learning. And predictive index, those 2 items are just shy of $20,800. And we're hopeful that during the amended budget process, we can put them back into a proposed amended budget.
The other difference is from 22, there was 32,000 budgeted for a vehicle for the safety coordinator.
Yes.
No, yeah.
And
So that's part of the difference.
Yeah, if you could, I mean, it's kind of hard to follow for me anyway. It would be nice if, I really like this kind of thing, the spreadsheet. If we could, I think just as we're going through any committee budget line, if we have last year's budget to compare with this year's, I think it really helps amplify or bring attention to the changes, whether it's a decrease or an increase. And it really helps highlight what projects that department, like a vehicle or whatever it may be.
What may have been a one-time expenditure.
Yeah, so then we can also track, like when we're doing the NeoGov, some of that was anticipated savings long-term, I believe, as well. Now we can kind of see how that fleshes out over the years. So, at least personally, that would be helpful for me. I don't know how the others feel about it, but I don't see anything too extravagant. I don't need to.
No.
The vehicle is just your safety coordinator.
Yep.
And then other services, that's where you run those civil service tests, right?
let's see.
Because it used to be identified as civil service expenses.
Yeah, maybe civil service advertising and then civil service expenses is down here.
Which I think are those the testing materials?
I mean, it says, and now it's called other services, but over here, that's basically your cost to run civil service tests. Okay, and then supplies and materials at 5,400, is that the same roughly the range you've had prior years?
depends on how many people leave.
No,
For testing, you mean testing materials?
I don't know what other supplies and materials are. I just wonder.
That would be office supplies, is that what falls under that category? I'm still learning the new.
It says other expense.
The office
Oh,
supplies
office stationery.
are a separate category. So other,
I know, I think I
office
had-
supplies and materials used to be other expense.
And maybe that's where I put meals for collective bargaining for next year.
I wondered if, because you don't, now that we have this ordinance, I didn't really see anywhere in here where you're budgeting for it.
Because those usually come out of my.
Oh, do they?
I may be able to tell you here. Let's see. In the 2022 budget, under other expenses. Let's see here. Under just the generic other expense back in this current year's budget, there was an allocation of 2,000 with no specific designation. Is membership and travel? Amber, if, nope, never mind, on yours, membership and dues. What we can do is we can send you last year's breakdown. If that would be helpful, then you can compare it line by line.
No, it's not a big item. I
The
just-
challenge will be is remapping the account numbers that we started the year off with versus the account numbers we migrated to.
Gotcha.
No, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. It's just, if you're saying it's office supplies, and maybe that's where you're paying some of these meals, I get it.
We will find out.
Let me see if I can see a difference.
Vehicle fuel, $1,500.
No. It's fine to me.
So, vehicle fuel budget. Kevin, you have anything?
No, I don't think so.
I don't see anything on the spot that I have questions on, just other than what I say it would be, and I get we changed quite a bit with the new financing software, which I'm really appreciative of. If we could get kind of the comparison to what last year's budget was right here, so that would be awesome. It doesn't even necessarily, this is a very small one. So for the other committees that I'm a part of, it would be nice if we did have the 2022 budget and then the actual so far year to date or whatever it may be, so we can kind of see what we're over budgeting, what we're under budgeting, and what the increase or decrease is. Yeah, I always find that helpful for myself at least. So, and if I have any questions on this, I'll email you.
And we'll work with Amber and Caleb on getting.
This packet that I just gave you.
Yeah, I'm seeing
I'm
that.
sorry, the second page actually has by department.
Yeah.
It has prior year, so 20 actual, 21 actual, 22 budget, and then 23 budget. And it has it by category and department. So, but like Bridget was saying, we did move a lot of things to put them in a better category where they should be.
Yeah.
So you are best looking at the total for each department because
Yes.
stuff did move in between it. So again, for human resources, it basically went from 419 for the 22 budget to 415 for the 23 budget. Kind of broken down by category.
And Amber, the big jump from 21 actual, 261, up to 419, That was bringing your safety guy and the vehicle, and
Yep.
Yep.
but you're not buying a vehicle again, so.
And that 32.3, I'm assuming, is the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And then what was the reduction in services? Did you say that was the?
There was the Learn software module,
Okay.
which is online training.
Yeah.
We've had 27 individuals go through 495 classes
Huge.
for that software.
Okay, and that was that a 3-year contract on that or something?
I think we did, I don't know, I don't know.
And then the other one
It was
is-
more than 1 year though, wasn't it? That budget item.
Might have been.
For
And
some
then the
reason,
other
I'm
one-
thinking it was 3.
And the other one was the predictive index, which is the kind of
Right.
personality assessment
Yeah.
for new hires.
Which have you found that both those to be helpful in your?
We're not utilizing both to their fullest extent at this time, so I think there's room to grow with one of those,
But worth keeping.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that you maybe would project when we go and if we get in the amended budget next year that you, maybe outside of those 2 items that aren't included in here that you can think of off the top of your head that you may need for next
That I'd
year?
like to have?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that, yeah.
We are looking at some maybe enhanced capabilities for online civil service testing for other fields other than the safety services, which we are able to do through National Testing Network for fire and dispatch, and when we're not doing lateral entries for police officer. But we did just sit through a demonstration that's part of NeoGov that integrates online testing for clerical positions that we right now do in person, and they take like a standardized test. So we're looking at some more upgraded, enhanced options that would allow people to take those tests on their own time and not have to devote a day to sit with me for 2 hours while I proctor the test. So we're looking at some options like that, but understanding that we'll have to go through the budget process.
I think we're always open to hearing anything that we can do to improve, and I like the projects that you can say they pay for themselves
Right.
in this area in the long term.
Anything that would help with recruiting and get more candidates
Yeah.
in is good for me.
Yeah.
So that's, looking at the salaries and fringes, those have gone up. Does that also include is that the 2% on here, the budget salary increase? Does that include that as well?
That is in a separate portion that I don't calculate.
Okay.
Councilman Coleman, are you looking, Fuller, are you looking at this document?
I was looking at the 23 budget.
Yes.
I was comparing 22.
It's a $27,000 increase. 27,500.
The salaries that are in the budget
Yes.
of 2022
Salaries.
did not include any increases that would have been awarded this year. So the 2023 budget for salaries, and I'll have Amber confirm this, would include what Kelly and her 2 employees are making today with a budgeted placeholder of 2%.
Okay.
So it's 3 employees for the salaries?
Yes,
Okay.
3 employees for the salaries.
Correct. And also the new position didn't start until, I'm not sure when it started, May?
May, I think.
Yeah, so it wasn't a full year
Yeah.
in 22 of that new position.
So then that basically that 21 to 22, and I know we already said this, but the jump there was adding the safety coordinator.
Correct.
Okay, cool. I have nothing else on that.
Looks good.
Okay, do you want us to make a motion to, I think this is just we review and then look at it
Yeah.
in total, or?
Yeah, I don't
We
know if
can put
make
it on your
motions,
agenda for
just-
next month as well, just in case any
Yeah.
questions pop up.
Let's keep, let's keep it as placeholder on the agenda until council's ready to review it, the budget in whole
Yeah.
for readings, so.
On that note, I know the president of council is not in this room, but you like 3 readings of the budget, correct?
Yes.
So the first reading would be next Tuesday, November 1st.
Mhm.
then the second meeting in November, and then the third reading would be the first meeting in December, just for reading purposes.
Yep.
I just wanted to confirm I
Which
have.
I, you know, I'm not president of council, but I'm personally fine if anybody wants to discuss in their committees until we're on that third and final passing, or.
That's what I
not
thought.
passing.
I just wanted to double check that I was doing that correctly.
And then I assume we also do not plan on passing it as an emergency. We're passing it at the beginning of December so it can be effective in January.
It has to be passed as an emergency in December because you pass it less than 30 days before January 1st, and it's the budget beginning January 1st, I believe. But she's saying no.
Appropriations don't need to, they're automatically ORC emergencies.
Okay,
So we
perfect.
don't have to.
I like when the ORC makes it emergency rather than us, stuff like that. That's great. Okay. So if I didn't bury my agenda here. All right. For good there, let's move on to parental leave. Any update from the administration on that?
Yes, the mayor has indicated to us that he would like to continue having those discussions once he understands, or we all understand, what the state is going to do with the bill that they have before them,
Perfect.
so as not to be in conflict with them potentially.
I believe, and I don't know if he's reached out, and I can follow up with the mayor myself, but I believe the bill on the table is 12-month paid maternity, paternity leave for all state employees. I don't know whether we want to follow that or take our own steps towards progress there, or what I would consider progress.
Did you mean 12 weeks? Or
12 weeks. I had 12 weeks. I said 12 months. I gave everybody a panic attack.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
I mean, as much as I would have, I'm in.
A year off would
Might be trying to have a baby. No, I believe it's 12 weeks at least, from what I could gather from, I believe, Senator Gabbard is perhaps one of the sponsors, and she had some information about it. But I would encourage the mayor, and again, I will reach out to him about it, to reach out to her, because obviously the state's going to go through some due diligence on what the budget impact is for them. And I would imagine on a micro level, we would see somewhat of a similar impact. If there is any, so that's good. I agree with that timeline. I just want to also, if they're moving on it quick while we're reviewing budget and there is budgetary impacts, it would be a great time to maybe consider that in to our what might be an amended budget or otherwise down the line. So awesome. Sounds like we're on the page there. They're the same page there. Any other business? No other business, we'll consider this meeting adjourned.